I am a sneakerhead. Now, I love footwear in general, but there's something about sneakers, kicks, crepes, trainers, whatever you like to call them, that just hold a special place in my heart. Maybe it's because I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, a time period that gave us so many iconic silhouettes in sneaker culture, many of which are still growing strong today. And though I have been trying to change my miserly ways and purge my collection of whatever pieces I don't actually wear, my collection still stands as this. A couple of these, a few of these, one or two of those, these down here, and also down here. Oh, can't forget about these guys. And found a couple more. When my luggage add-ons look like this, I think it's safe to say I'm still a sneakerhead. But the thing is, as of late, I've been seriously reconsidering this identity, and it is all thanks to these. These are Zero brand Barefoot shoes. And before we go any further, I'll let you know straight off the top, this is not a sponsored video. These people, they don't know me at all. What I do plan to do is share some of my opinions and my experiences in reference to using barefoot shoes, in particular, these barefoot shoes. And maybe, especially if you are someone who considers yourself a sneakerhead, then this video and some of the opinions I'm going to share might have you questioning your identity too. In case you missed it, or if this is your first time to my page and first time checking out any of my videos, first of all, hi, I'm a coach. I teach people how to move. I work out of my own little private studio in which we are currently housed. And this structure is mere steps away from my house, which is just over there a little ways. So with that being said, my commute to work every day is very short. To get from over there to over here, all I usually wear is something like these or like these, which are both essentially like all-wheel drive slippers. I want my footwear to be easy on and off because in here, I'm pretty intentional about being out of shoes for most of the day while I'm at work and even while I'm doing my own training. And it is now time to reveal my dirty little secret, which is that I am into foot stuff. I'm passionate about feet. This proclivity started a long time ago. I've been fixing my feet for years now. Many years ago, I started to notice an uptick in aches and pains around my knees, around my back, and I started to wonder if there was something going on structurally outside of just my knees and my back that could be contributing to these chronic problems that just kept coming back. I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of deep dives into as much foot content as I could find. I found a couple of drills for testing your foot mobility. And one of the drills was testing how much you could spread your toes apart. After I saw this drill, I looked down at my toes. I said, okay, here we go. Let's get down to business and spread. And then things just barely moved at all. So I was confronted with this stiffness in my feet, this lack of mobility in my feet. I started to think to myself, okay, maybe there's something to some of this literature that I'm reading about how much your feet can affect the way that your joints and your connective tissue can function upstream all the way up to your tip top of your head. So I started to get more serious about my feet, started working on mobilizing them daily, started working on strengthening them in different ways. And as a result of some of this work, all of a sudden I started to notice these subtle changes in my movement patterns, in my stability, in my coordination. I started noticing that I was able to express force more efficiently when I was doing my weightlifting. I started noticing that all my single leg exercises felt a lot more stable. Once my feet started to get stronger, of course, that started to build up into the lower limb. Started noticing my ankles get stronger, my calves, the muscles on my shins. Next thing you know, I'm walking around pretty confidently. I'm not as worried as much about rolling my ankle, say, if I were to slip off a curb. So the fires of feet were lit within me at that point. I started to realize how necessary it was to target your feet as the first line of defense against structural problems for the rest of your body. Most of the people that come in to see me with some of the same aches and pains that I was experiencing before I started working on my feet. People come in with knee pain, they come in with back pain, and from session number 1, which is the initial assessment session, from session number 1, the first place we go is to their feet. If their feet are immobile, if their arches are falling, those are all very significant clues as to what could be going on within their movement patterns that could be leading to some of this pain. I'm so passionate about feet, I made a whole ebook about it, which is linked in the description if you want to check it out. And I did this because I was having these foot convos on the daily. But all this being said, even though I've just outed myself as being a foot girl, I was still a little bit reluctant to jump on this whole barefoot shoe bandwagon. And I'd say that was actually for a couple of different reasons. One of these is price. When I first started getting curious about barefoot shoes, big name in the industry at the time, still a big name in the industry, is Vivo Barefoot, which you may have seen cross your own feed if you are consuming bits and pieces of fitness and wellness content like this already. And I'm scrolling through these prices on Vivo's website, and I'm like, damn. Some of these are costing as much or more than a pair of shoes in a coveted colorway on StockX. And I kind of took issue with that, because if part of this whole barefoot movement is about spreading as much information to help the health of people's feet, then a high price point is going to be a pretty deliberate barrier to entry for many populations. These zeros have much more mid-tier options that you can choose from. And also, the barefoot shoe boasts itself as being a minimal shoe. So if you have a minimal shoe with minimal materials, and I would imagine minimal manufacturing, then why are you charging me more money for less shoe? But I gotta admit though, price wasn't the only thing holding me back. The main reason was aesthetics. These are the first barefoot shoes I ever saw, the Vibram 5 Fingers. The 5 Fingers are now classics in their own right, having debuted all the way back in 2006 to mixed reviews. And this early iteration of the Vibram 5 Fingers, they were especially off-putting to me. I just didn't like imagining the texture of the fabric between my toes. But my weird aversions aside, the Vibram 5 Fingers are actually a huge part of what's popularized the barefoot movement as it's known today, and their modern styles haven't deviated a lot from their original counterparts. Look, no shade to you if you wear those. I know, aesthetics is incredibly subjective, but being that I am a part of sneaker culture, a huge driving force within sneaker culture is aesthetics. And the barefoot shoe aesthetic and the sneakerhead aesthetic, we're not really jiving for a minute there. But you know what time is always finna do? It's change stuff, including my opinion. I'm seeing these ads for barefoot shoes just kind of floating over my feed. And some of these new styles don't trigger the same visceral reaction that the Vibram 5 Fingers did for me. Some of these barefoot shoes are even starting to mimic some of the iconic silhouettes of my beloved grails. And then one day, these babies float across my feed, and I think to myself, well, that's nice color. So out comes a credit card. A couple days later, they arrive, and I start regularly wearing them at work, in sessions with clients, in my own training sessions, and they feel really good. The whole thing about barefoot shoes is quite often they have this very minimal drop. So this kind of zero drop where your foot is close to flush with the ground. There's not a lot of material in here. They're very thin. They're very flexible. People all do this when they're trying to demo how flexible they are. Yeah, fold it up like that, put a rubber band around them, stick them in a tiny corner of your suitcase you're going on a trip. It's pretty convenient. They're also really lightweight. This particular style is quite breathable. So for training, these are actually a huge game changer. Like I said before, I'm out of shoes a lot of the day, but there are some movements that still feel a little bit limited when you're either in sock feet or bare feet, particularly the movements that kind of traction the ball of the foot or the big toe. Things like mountain climbers, even like a hard plant from something like a heavy reverse lunge. That friction can at points give you a little bit of irritation under the ball of the foot. But with these, the feet are just protected enough to not take on as much friction through the sole, but you still have a lot of ground contact feel because of how thin the soles are and how flexible they are. And they're also very wide in the toe box, which is kind of the other major integral part of these Barefoot designs is that they have this wide toe box that allows your feet to spread around, allows your toes to wiggle around and move in ways that will help them to adhere better to the ground beneath you. So for all these reasons, for training, they became a real game changer pretty much right out of the box. And I start to wear them on short walks. A dog walk here, dog walk there. We gotta run to the post office. Better throw these on. As I'm walking around a little longer and a little longer, I'm also testing them out on different terrain, different surfaces, stepping on pebbles outside, stepping on concrete, stepping on grass, and all these different things. Because I'm wearing them more and more, and my feet are now having a chance to adapt to this new accessible range, and they feel so good. But the real kicker is this. After wearing these for a while and freeing up my feet, the next time I put on a pair of the Grails and went for even a moderately long walk, my dogs were barking. My feet hurt. One by one, I'm trying on the sneakers that I have in my collection. And one by one, I'm getting the same feedback after just like a day of regular walking around with them. My feet hurt. Not only do they hurt, they're hot, they're cramped. I can actively feel myself inside a pair of my Air Maxes trying to wiggle around my toes, trying to spread my toes. I'm a sneakerhead, and then all of a sudden my feet are feeling claustrophobic in my beloved sneakers because of these. I'm a sneakerhead who finds herself more and more shying away from her beloved sneakers because they no longer feel good to wear. So I now find myself at a crossroads of identity. I still mostly wear these now when I train, and mostly wear these now when I go out. But I have to admit that the ratios are starting to tip, and that function and comfort might finally be edging out aesthetics. So will she finally renounce her sneakerhead title? Guess I'll just have to keep you posted. See you at the next one.